Hello my friends, today we meet Tim Delър, a sport journalist with the BBC Radio, a cricket coach and a person deeply interested in psychology. Hello Tim, and thank you for taking part in my project.
Pleasure, no, good to be here.
You've met a lot of professional athletes, you've seen them in different situations, coping with pressure. What is the most common mistake that they do to fail?
Probably thinking too far ahead and worrying about the consequences of either success or failure. Probably the biggest issue. So we talk a lot about trying to stay in the now, so stay in the moment, and if they get too carried away about the possibility of winning or the fear of losing, then that can be the big issue and cause issues with pressure.
But a lot of people prefer to have a plan for a longer period to work.
Yes, that's right. It's very hard to practice routines to deal with pressure, and we spend a lot of time in training trying to make sure that athletes are equipped mentally. So we think it's all in the head, success or failure, and we spend a lot of time trying to develop the skills so that the athletes can cope with those really big pressure situations.
I think that the ordinary people can benefit a lot from what sport can teach us. And what do you think a lot of people are dealing with? A lot of pressure in their life, a lot of challenges, maybe job interview or some personal stuff. What is the right way to approach when you feel overwhelmed?
Well, I think that's exactly right, first of all. I think you're absolutely right. I think sport is just a version of life that doesn't matter so much, probably. Clearly, there are a lot more serious things going on in the world than sport, and so people have to deal with far more extreme pressure than an athlete will ever have to do. But we can learn some lessons from how athletes deal with these pressure situations. So clearly, trying to stay calm, trying to think logically, where possible, trying to rehearse situations. So now I know that's not always possible because sometimes situations are thrust upon you and you have to react quickly, but you can prepare yourself and give yourself the best chance of success if you think through all your options before the big moment, before that crucial moment. So we spend a lot of time in sport rehearsing, practicing in the match conditions, and I think it's the same in life. Where possible, work out what your options are and give yourself as much time to make the correct decision.
We talk about two things: competence and confidence. And when you're competent, when you practice, when you know what to do, or when you learn, then you have the confidence to cope with difficult situations.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So the more able you are to deal with something, the more relaxed you'll be. That's just human nature, isn't it, in whatever walk of life. So that's right. Practice the skill, practice the technique, and then you'll be more confident mentally to cope. I think one of the biggest issues in sport actually is players who feel underprepared for an event. That might be physically, so they might have had an injury and they're recovering from that, and they know that they're not quite as physically strong as they should be, or perhaps their technique isn't up to scratch, and that can really cause a problem mentally with the confidence. It plays on their mind, so then their performance deteriorates mentally as well as physically. So that's right, try and get the skill as honed as possible, as nailed down as possible, and then mentally you'll be in a better place to cope.
You work with cricket players for their mental health. Are they willing to learn about mental health and how to cope with this pressure? They prefer to stay by themselves and try it like they feel it, not to learn new things.
It's a really interesting mix. So some players are very relaxed about talking about mental skills, about mental toughness we talk a lot about, and psychology. They're very relaxed and they'll talk to anybody about that and they see the benefits of it. Some players are more private and don't want to share the fact that they do believe in psychology, and others frankly don't believe in it. Now I think as a coach that's no problem. You just let them do what they do, and if they don't want the help then so be it, up to them. But I would say the majority of players and athletes now do recognise the importance of training the brain, so making sure that mentally they're good to go.
Sometimes people are ashamed to ask for mental health, because we talk about physical health a lot, but not about mental health.
There's a slight difference, I think, in clinical psychology, where you're talking about mental health, and sports psychology, where you're talking about performance gains. And yes, in the UK where I work, there's still a little bit of a taboo around talking about mental health issues, but that's improving fast. The situation's getting much better. People are understanding now that actually we need to support athletes, human beings in whatever walk of life, mentally, so that they can be the best and they can be happy and they can enjoy their life to the full. So there's a more of an understanding and appreciation now of the importance of addressing mental health issues.
When we have a headache, we go and see the doctor. So when we have some problems, we shouldn't be ashamed to ask for professional help.
Yes,
that's right.
That's exactly the attitude we take now, that it's just another symptom, isn't it, that you need to help with, is that, you know, brain training in the same way as you train any other muscle in your body. So yes, that's right.
But sometimes it's difficult to imagine what this training, mental training could be, because practice, you know, you go and hit the ball and run and do these things. And what is the training for mental health, for mental toughness?
Yes. So, well, mental toughness, I mean, what we try and do is a variety of training methods to help athletes with that.
You're playing different difficult situations. How would you cope with this?
Yes.
Do you have different options in that case?
Absolutely. So give them scenarios, situations in practice, which they will then face in competition. And in fact, we try and make them practice above and beyond what they'll be asked to do in a match. So we actually make it more difficult in training than anything they'll have to cope with in a match situation. So when they get to the match situation and they're under pressure, they think, this is easy, I can do this, I've done this before, I've been here before. So that's the idea with training under pressure.
How often does it happen somebody to fail in sport because he have a real chance to win or a real chance to lose?
Yeah, and because of the mental side, it's very hard to judge that. Very hard, a very tough question. But I would say most coaches, certainly all psychologists, and a lot of athletes would now say that a huge percentage of performance relies upon being good in the brain rather than good physically, because there's a huge number of athletes around the world who are all really good physically, great technique, great tactical understanding of their sport, but actually the differentiator, the thing that makes the difference, is what goes on in your head. So
can you learn it?
Yeah, I think so. So we talk a lot about whether it's nature or whether it's nurture. Can you train it? Can you improve mental toughness? I think if you're a coach or a player, you have to say you can learn it, because otherwise you just go, well, I was born like this. So you must buy into the idea that you can learn it and you can develop it. Otherwise there's no point in training.
Okay, Tim, thank you very much for this conversation. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure, nice to speak to you.